Welcome to Higher Education Advocates Podcast. This podcast is about supporting students and families as they navigate through the post-secondary complexities of college. From time to time, I will touch base on current events. Expect to hear jam-packed information that includes strategies and tips. The goal is to empower families and help them make informed decisions. Expect to hear from higher education professionals, HR professionals, tax pros, mental health professionals, financial aid administrators, students, parents, plus more. My name is Teresa Harris, and I'm a college financial aid expert. I'm also the founder and owner of Scholarship Momma. I have a master's in higher education, and I am an alum of Robert Morris University in Chicago. I'm a wife, mom, and grandmother. My heart is for our youth, but the information I'm sharing is relevant for all age groups. When it comes to college, my experience as an adult student was fantastic. I was eager to learn and ready to start a new career, and the only way I could pay for college was to borrow loans. One thing I failed to realize is the impact student loans would have on my future. I borrowed thousands of dollars during my undergraduate career, and as time went on, the amount I owed ballooned. As of this recording, I'm still paying off student loans, and I completed college years ago. For the record, I don't have anything against student loans, but I do believe in responsible borrowing, which is something I didn't do. As for the podcast, expect to hear from me on a bi-weekly basis. This podcast is available on Anchor FM and Scholarship Momma YouTube channel. For more information, check out my website, www.scholarshipmomma.com. Hey friends, so glad you can join me today. This is Teresa Harris, aka Scholarship Momma, and welcome to Higher Education Advocates Podcast. Today we have Marilyn Gilbert-Mitchell with us to talk about careers. This is a good one, y'all. Before we get started, some background about Marilyn. She is a second-generation educator and a lifelong Chicago resident who believes in students pursuing education beyond high school. She blends skills, information, and experience from 30 years in corporate, higher education, culture, and secondary education environments to help students exceed. Marilyn, anything else you would like to add to this impressive bio?
I don't know about impressive, but what I will tell you that's not on that page is I am a grandmother. Woo! And I'm excited about that. No, but I love what I do. I love working with students, and I'm just excited to be here. Thank you, Teresa and Scholarship Momma, for the invitation. And I am looking forward to sharing information with all who listen to your podcast.
Well, thank you. Before we get started, though, I want our listeners to know we have reached a milestone.
All right.
It makes the 10th episode. Yeah. And thank you, Marilyn, for being my guest on this special episode. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I have pretend confetti. Yes.
Now back to the podcast. Here's my question. What would you say are the top career choices now?
So, of course, 2020 is a year like none other. Let me just start with that. But also with a huge explosion of even more technology than we had already been experiencing. As you can imagine, technology-based careers are exploding. Careers such as cloud computing. Who knew that was a thing, right? You store everything on your phone, your computer, and you throw it in the cloud. We have no idea where the cloud is or who manages it, but there are colleges now with either courses, even on the community college level, or even a university degree, and even graduate level degrees that you can get in cloud computing. So anything technology-based, IT-based, as more and more institutions and schools and just people and corporations are in that virtual space because of COVID-19. Also medical fields. So all of them, from community college-based medical assistants all the way to nurse practitioners who can actually prescribe medicine, and do almost everything that doctors can do. And of course, your doctors and your specialties, because scientists and research scientists are now looking for cures to COVID, since there is no current cure, though we're told that there are advancements in trying to find ways to get rid of this disease and this pandemic and the effects on people. As you also can imagine, in medical careers, we're talking about therapists, so physical therapy, occupational therapy, and I definitely want to say therapist. So we have people who have been at home since January, February of 2020. We're now in October. So we definitely need more mental health practitioners, whether therapists, counselors, psychologists, psychotherapists, psychoanalysts, all of those fields to help people navigate this weird space. And I'm not just talking about young people, since we really are talking about, college age, getting ready for college. I'm talking about adults, senior citizens. And definitely as we move into winter, which is the season that is typically known for having the most depression, and people have holidays, and if they've lost loved ones, it brings all of those things to your mind, that those are careers. And then lastly, finance-based careers. People are looking at, I lost my job, my income is lower. How do I balance my money? Frivolous spending, all of that's gone or going away. Or how do I make sure that I hold on to the money that I have, the good money? How do I make sure we've seen a big surge in Black on Black businesses, supporting Black businesses like with us? Yes. And how do we make sure that we're using our money wisely, especially with everything else going on in the world? So I would say that those are many of the top careers. A couple more would be anything about going green. So whether recycling or sustainability, or how do you use solar panels? If you look around, you may see more solar panels on houses now, where before that wasn't so much a thing. So how do we use our planet wisely? How do we use our resources wisely? So there are definitely money-making careers in those fields. So I hope that answered your question.
It did, which is choices. What factors should students consider most often when planning for a career?
That is a really good question. I remember growing up a long time ago when dinosaurs were around, when we were told to find something that you love to do that you would do for free. And I like a lot of things. I don't know any of them I want to do totally free, because I like my money. I like my things. But definitely some things to think about are, what are you naturally good at? And you can learn how to be great at things, but there are just some things that you are naturally good with. So there are some people who are good with kids, good with babies. There are some people who are good with working with the elderly. There are, on the other hand, people that I know as a 22-year educator that don't like kids. So why are you a teacher? Outside of the benefits and all of those other things that you like to do, why would you be in a career if you know that you just genuinely don't like a major part of that career? So what is it that you like to do? What are you gifted to do? What are you good at just already? That would make it easier. Personality.
That's some good tips, Marilyn. I wish I had those tips when I was I changed my major 3 times. And
exactly.
I did not know that.
Yes, but that's one of the benefits of college, right? Because you can go into college thinking, I know what I want to be.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. I'm not looking at anything else. And then you go to college and realize they have majors you've never heard of. Yeah. They have majors that you've never considered. So it's good to go in with interest in what you think you would like, but at the same time, be open that taking classes will expose you to things that you never knew existed. You can get a degree in forestry. And why would you want to? Well, maybe you want to work at the Park District or Yellowstone National Park, or you want to work with the forest fires and be able to know what trees burn faster and how do you stop them from burning and what happens when the wind blows to the fire. So there are things that you may be interested in that you are unaware of until you go to college. So those are things to consider. What are you naturally good at? What is your temperament? You don't like kids, you want to yell all the time, then you might not want to be a teacher or a school bus driver or a teacher's aide or any of those careers. What are you passionate about? If you look at young people, especially that like basketball or they like soccer or they like football, they will do it all day. They look at gaming, and that's a new college major that you can have now is gaming, how to build a gaming system, how to make everything happen that people love, video games. but they'll do it without thinking about it. You can see a young person play video games all day and they will barely get up and go eat or use the restroom because they are passionate about it. But then you say, do some schoolwork. I don't have time. I don't want to do that. So what is it that you are passionate about? And then the last part I want to ask is, what's sustainable?
Yes.
It's okay if you like to do things. There are a lot of things I like to do that have nothing to do with my career path. I was a competitive majorette twirler since the age of 7. Trophies, all of that. Often my team was the only team with students of color. And my coach was a Black woman who was a cowgirl. She wore boots, hats, fringes, all of that way back in the 70s before it was something mainstream. And you can have a passion, which is great, but is it sustainable? Can you make a living from it? Can you take care of you and your family member, your children, your spouses, and all of that? Is it stable? Would a career disappear in 5 years? Would I want a career right now in rotary phone? No, because they don't exist anymore. So now I need a cloud-based job or something like that. So that was a lot of information because I want to make sure that we pack in enough to let people know you don't have a decision. It's okay to be open. It's okay to have an idea, but be open to the fact that could change, and that's okay.
And I certainly agree with that because mine did change. So what about interpersonal skills and those skills that are important to employers? Can we talk a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely, we can. So they used to call those soft skills. I personally don't like that terminology because what that implies is that they're minor and they're not really important. But if you even look online, whether you're looking at Glassdoor, Indeed, or any of the career places where you can look for a job, those are not soft skills. Those are requirements. So let's just call them employable skills. So skills that you need to be employed. And while many people want to be an entrepreneur, you usually work somewhere else first. And then you learn and you grow and then you branch out on your own. So some of those include critical thinking. Mm-hmm. How good at you are assessing a situation, breaking it down, figuring out what to do next, looking at the real problem, not just the effects of the problem, and coming up with a solution. It's not enough to say this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. But how do you find multiple solutions to fix those things? Another one is collaboration, right? You can't work by yourself. You can't work by yourself in a little room with just you and your computer and never interact with other people, whether clients or coworkers or partners or whoever that could be. So how do you make sure that you are good with collaboration, that you can work independently, but also collaboratively and cooperatively? If no one wants to work with you, that's a problem. So that's what they used to call people skills. 3, I would say, is leadership. Mm-hmm. So how do you show leadership and initiative? Do you always wait for somebody to say, do this, and this? Or do you sometimes, not all the time, you say, you know what, hey, I got an idea. And even if it doesn't work, how about we try this? And this is why, and this is where it came from. And I think this is good because, not just throwing something out there, but that you also have a reason behind your selection. And then probably the last one would be, let me think about this. I would definitely add communication skills. Okay. So written, verbal communication skills. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't talk to people often, you still have to talk to people at some point. And then written communication skills. Can you write coherently? Can you use the King's English? Can you write with proper subject verb agreement? Is your grammar great? Not perfect, but is it professional? So when you write emails to people, you're not saying, hey, what's up? What about that meeting? But you making sure that you are aware of the professional environment that you're in. And then, of course, when you are a billionaire, you can do your own thing. I want to add a quick example. I remember reading many, many years ago that it was either Russell Simmons or Sean Puffy P. Diddy Combs, whichever name he goes by now. And it was one of them that I read about, and I don't know which one, which is why I'm giving you both. Always cite your sources, by the way, which is what I'm doing. That I read about how back when they were both starting, one of them was both starting, they wore suits to all the professional business meetings because that's what you do. You go to a meeting, you wear a suit, you wear a tie, you dress up. But once they cross that $1 million mark, I could come to a meeting in a t-shirt and don't care what everybody else has on. And I could wear my, Russell Simmons was known for wearing his Argyles, and Sean Puffy Combs was known for wearing very relaxed, but still stylish attire. So when you are the boss and you make your own decisions, then you could change what you're able to do. But in the meantime, in between time, how do you make sure that you know the etiquette of professional settings and in professional environments?
That's an excellent example.
Right. So in our Zoom meetings, you can be business on top and pajamas on the bottom, right? But you still present yourself in a way that reflects the audience that you are talking to.
Excellent tip and excellent example too, might I add.
Thank you.
So many high school students, they are undecided when it comes to career choice or major. Any suggestions on helping students decide?
Well, in addition to what we talked about already, but what are you passionate about? What are you naturally gifted to do? Or what are you interested in? What are you willing to learn? What are you willing to be trained, even if it's something that you're not familiar with, but you have some slight interest in? I would say that there are a lot of tools out there that you can do career inventories or career interests that you can look at. So many things out there, such as ACT. And I know there are many schools now that are test optional that you don't have to take the ACT, but you can still use their ACT survey, where after you complete, it's maybe 100 or so questions. It probably will take up to 20 minutes. It will give you out these, based on your responses, these are possible career interests that you could work. Not perfect, but it maybe can guide you into a certain direction. And then from there, students can do their own research. Career Zone is another source where they can input their interests. It asks questions about what do you like? Do you prefer A, B, C, or D? And after you enter all your responses, then they give you out information based on your responses. A third one I would say is Naviance, definitely in Chicago public schools. And there are many major districts that use Naviance now. They have a career interest profiler that students can use, and they have access, for example, in Chicago, they have access in Naviance, even in elementary school. Oh, so that may be something that they want to talk to their teachers or their school counselors about. And then lastly, Career Explorer. So outside of Naviance, the other three can be used with students and their parents independently if they want to do it on their own. And I definitely advocate students to not rely only on your school, only on your school workers and teachers and leaders, although they are great. We are all dealing with unprecedented things at this time, and we have so many things professionally and personally to deal with that you can also take that same motivation and that same hustle that makes you wait till 12:01 when a new game comes out so you can be the first to download it or to wait in line. Back in the day when Jordans were coming out of Foot Locker, people were in line at 5:00 in the morning to be one of the first people to get the shoes. So how do you use the resources that you have available? So those are 4 that you can use that I would strongly highlight in able to just find out what career areas you're in way before you decide on specific majors.
So thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. That is excellent for excellent resources for students and for families to know, because, you don't hear much about that. A lot of times what you hear is students are undecided. And I want to say, and this just from personal experience in Maryland, please feel free to just piggyback on that, because difference of opinion or agreement is always great.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes we might end up in college as students with our first semester being undecided. I don't think that's a bad thing, families, for you to actually go to school undecided. Just know that you might be there longer. So you going undecided because you quite haven't made your mind up. It's okay. I think some colleges do have undecided as majors. Actually,
they do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. I would add to that is that in going undecided, try to look for universities that have at least 2 of those career interests. So you're decided between major A and major B. That's fine. So find a school that has both. So as I start taking courses and I say, okay, I'm moving away from A and I want to choose major B, I don't have to necessarily transfer schools. that I can stay at that same college and continue on with my education with the same system that I was in. And if that can't happen, that's fine, but that may be something to consider. The other part of that is just knowing that when you go undecided, you may also miss some opportunities. As an example, there are many schools that don't have the 2-year general courses that we used to hear about. You know, I used to hear teachers tell students, and I would cringe, and they would say, oh, just go to a junior college, community college, and take your gen ed requirements. It's cheaper. And then you could transfer over to a university. So that's partially true. Let me just say that. Mm-hmm. I am absolutely a supporter of community colleges. They have advantages, they have majors, they have things to get students started, especially students that don't want to go to a 4-year. They can make a very successful career out of a career and a 2-year degree, an associate's degree. That is absolutely true. There are some majors, however, that may not work as seamlessly as you think. So if you're an architecture major and some engineering majors at specific schools, they start in their major their freshman year, first semester. So if you have gone somewhere else or done something different, then you may be at a disadvantage with your graduation schedule if you come in later and then you have to go back and catch up with the courses that you've missed where other students have moved on and they're into higher, more rigorous courses within those specific majors. So when I like to tell students is every answer about colleges, it depends. And anyone who gives you an absolute, this will work at all 4,000 plus colleges, other than you have to pay, you have to go to class, you have to follow their requirements to graduate. Those are the only absolutes. Everything else it depends on the institution, their policies, and all of those related parts.
I love that. I love that you said that. Thank you so much for saying that, because you are so right with that, because it does depend. I had it happen to me and I was far behind in some college courses where I actually had to catch up. And honestly speaking, I really feel like that I didn't get the full grasp of it.
Right. And I won't leave you out there by yourself.
Yeah, that is true.
I'll put mine out there. I'll never leave you hanging in the wind alone. I was an engineering major as a freshman because that was the hot career. I was a Black woman. You know, my administrator at my high school told me, you're going to make a lot of money. Black girl, smart in math. You're going to do well. And I did not like it. So when I did transfer, none of those engineering credits, of course, transferred because that was no longer my major. And in addition to that, not having the best grades in those courses dropped my GPA. So some lessons are more expensive. And as you mentioned, Teresa, they can be time consuming, where it takes you a little longer to graduate if you change your major, or I'm using more of my financial aid than I had intended to. And it's all things that you have to just be aware of. Nothing wrong with it. It happens as part of your journey, but you need to be aware of those possible effects that come out of those decisions. Oh, I love this. I love this. We are both excited about this is college admission season. It's my time. I love it.
It's true. I like to say college is serious, y'all. It's serious.
Oh, yes. This is not something you try on like a pair of pants to see if it fits. It costs too much. Yeah. Your money, the government's money, your friends and family money, whoever money it belongs to, is too expensive. So you want to go into it with your eyes open, with the options in front of you, and making an educated decision with your head and not just solely with your eyes and your heart. Oh, I love this school, but it's $70,000 a year. You should think about something else. Right. I want a Lamborghini, but the price tag and the money in my current bank account, you see, I said current bank account, they don't match up with that goal. So I have to either change the goal or change what I'm doing in order to make that goal happen.
But that's key. It's about making informed decisions. That's
absolutely
what it's about. So that's key. So this is a great dialogue. I love it. Can you discuss the importance of volunteering and internships as a value add when students are looking for employment? You know, students got some against volunteering because it's unpaid. But
oh, wow. Right.
Can we expand on that more? I just want them to hear from you.
Okay, let me give you the Marilynism. That's what my students and faculty members and colleagues would say, across my professional career. Marilynism, these things that you say that only make sense when you say it, it makes sense to me. I would say, okay, here we go. Students want free given to them, but they don't want to give free. So students want free things, right? I want to go on this college trip and I don't want to pay 1 penny. It doesn't matter if this bus is $3,000. It doesn't matter that the school is paying $500 for us to all eat there on the bus. It doesn't matter that there's a bus driver and people took off work to be chaperones. I want free. But then when you say, can you volunteer? Can you be a mentor to an elementary student, a younger student? Can you help your siblings in your house? Can you go volunteer one Saturday a month or something? I don't have time for that. And that's a problem, right? Because what if people who helped you use that same mentality that I don't ever want to do anything? And I've done more than my share of free work, definitely with students and families, but at church and other organizations. But the mindset has to change and be different to move from what do I get out of it and just say, how do I grow from it? So every experience, whether paid internships and paid volunteerism or free or whatever mixture there is, go into it thinking I'm doing this to be of help, to be of service. And I may get something out, not always money, right? It could be I get a letter of recommendation, a source of letter of recommendation that from my excellent work and my great work ethic and what I've been able to do while in this volunteer role or whatever the role is, from that, whoever my supervisor or person I report to will say, you know what, you did a great job. I like that. Or can you come back and work next summer? So you go from free to paid. Or can I write you a letter of recommendation? Or can I be a reference as you look for jobs? And they say, do you have any references that are not related to you? So there are non-monetary benefits. It could just be someone who becomes a mentor or who has an open door. My cousin owns a such and such place. So the person you work for couldn't necessarily do what you needed, but they know someone who can. So we're not going into it looking for something, but we're going to do the best we can and saying, what can I gain from this experience in growth, in those employable skills, in those opportunities, being a leader, having strong work ethic, whatever those are benefits. So volunteering is absolutely important. And I will add that as a when I worked at a school district before this current career that I'm in now of being an independent education consultant, I required my students to do community service. So annually, I did a winter toy drive on my own, just because I wanted to, and made my students, if you want to work with me and get these free benefits of college and career planning, you will volunteer. You will either, put up flyers or encourage people to come or donate we gave away new toys, not bought, sold out my closet toys, and they gain something without thinking about it. They say, oh, I love the smile when this little kid came and got this free toy. And so all I had to do was plant the spark. And many of them now who are grown, they still do some level of community service. And they'll say, I remember when we did the toy drive. I remember all those years of doing that activity. So as adults, we can help influence students' opinions about volunteering. What do they see us do to volunteer? Do they see us giving back? Do they see us being the hands and feet of ministry, of being helpful to other people? It's hard to tell students to do things that they don't see us do as the adults around them. So to answer the question of going around the bend and down the street, is that volunteering and community service is not just for the person who's doing the service. They're doing a service to help others. And in doing so, there are benefits that they can get personally, though that's not the goal in doing so. So I absolutely believe in it. I don't often work with students who refuse to do some level of service or community work, because that is now how we build better neighborhoods and communities and families, by being selfish about what we have and what is at our disposal.
Absolutely. Love it. Also, families, I want you to know too, that as a person who finds scholarships for families, I see a lot of community service scholarships. It's the only requirement is that you do community service. It doesn't, some of them. Let me just say this, all scholarship providers are different. Some of those scholarship providers, the only criteria is for you to have community service. And so that's another value add for families to save money on your education as well. So community service is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for that. That is also important. And I would like to say too, now I know some families we as a nation are challenged in terms of doing community service now.
Right.
So you want to do community service if it's safe to do so. But when it does come back to some type of sense of normalcy, please consider doing community service. As Marilyn said, it can give you those employable skills that employers are looking for. And think about it, networking and connections as well.
Right. Let me add that you can still volunteer virtually. There are so many events going on. For example, the 100 Black Men of Chicago, their annual college fair, that is my favorite college fair of the entire year. It is on October 17th. And if you go on their website, they're looking for virtual volunteers. Now, you have to look to the website to see the time commitment and what that entails, what they want you to do. But it could be as easy as going into one of the fair's breakout rooms and making sure that you are listening to the conversation, virtually, of course, the chat. And making sure that the chat is not offensive and that it's not insensitive, there's so many other things you can still do virtually to volunteer. You just have to seek out those opportunities and take advantage of them. So there are things you can do even right now to still volunteer with so many events being online. And then it doesn't have to be a structured organization. Scholarship Momma, as an example, just had a summit.
Yes.
Great job, by the way, Teresa. And so for that event, sometimes you can create volunteer opportunities, whatever her next event is, which I'm sure she'll tell you about soon. You can just reach out to Teresa Harris at Scholarship Momma. She's on all the social media platforms. And you can ask her and say, I see you have an event coming up. Do you need volunteers? So you don't always have to wait for them to be publicized. You can create them. And that's part of being a leadership, one of those employable skills. I see you have an event coming up. Is there something that I can do to volunteer? You're not asking for money. You're asking for the opportunity to do that. And just in doing that, I believe that good works bring good things. So when you do things and you put positive things, people call it pay it forward, whatever you want to call it, that when you do well for people in some way, you are blessed by that. And so that's a way that you can still volunteer in the age of COVID to stay safe. Don't put yourself, as was said, in harm's way, all for the sake of, let me try to make this happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that option. I didn't even think about that.
And if they look up
volunteer opportunities.
Absolutely. If they look at Nickelodeon, I believe, trying to think right now, the name escapes me. They actually have an award show. Halo, that's it. Woo, thank you. The Halo Awards is all about young people who volunteer and do things in their community. And maybe watching the Halo Awards, you can watch it on YouTube or they have archive information. But that could give you a spark from starting a neighborhood grocery run for the senior citizens on your block. Can you volunteer that when your parents go to the grocery store that you will pick up some small groceries for somebody on your neighborhood that's older and can't get out, that's not safe to get out. And you could, they would work out how you're going to pay them, how they're going to give you the money for that. But you go grocery shopping on their behalf. There are ways that you can do things in your neighborhood without, again, having a structured system or program so that you can meet the needs of people and you can be helpful.
Awesome. Oh, my goodness. That is awesome. And you shared so many resources already. Any more resources that you would like to share with?
Oh, Lord. There are so many out there. And I would just tell you, when you find a few that you like, don't overwhelm yourself with trying to find everything. There's so much out there that with technology and us being inside the house, we can be on information overload. So when you find one or two, stick with them, follow them on social media, see what events they have. If you, for example, Chance the Rapper, he has a nonprofit, Social Works, and they always post information and events geared toward increasing community service and community activism. So once you find those one or two organizations, follow them, keep up with them, interact with them, find out what they're doing and how you could be a part of that. And that would be your best start so that you don't do too many. You can do so many things that none of them are done well. So find you one or two and commit to them and do them well and grow with them so that they get to know who you are, that when you respond on social media, that's at Teresa Harris. That's the lady from Chicago. All right, I see you. You want to start building your network of connections and having mutually beneficial relationships.
Exactly. Great tip. Thank you. And lastly, here's my last question. We're about 6 months into the pandemic. Any motivation tips you'd like to share with families? You shared so many tips.
So this is from Marilyn Gilbert-Mitchell. What helps me keep my sanity, quite honestly, first and foremost, is my faith.
Yes. There
is so much going on that as a human, I just cannot imagine trying to figure this out, go through this. So whether it is scriptures or watching all of the faith-based programs that are all across social media platforms, concerts and all kind of things, whether it is reading books that match what I believe, that can be a source of encouragement, whether it's following people. Goldcast is an amazing format, social media platform where they make the most incredible inspirational, motivational videos featuring real people and famous people. And they put it all together with amazing music and words on the screen. You can do it. Pick your muscles up and go. And you don't build muscles one day at a time. You go, wow, that makes so much sense. So you can find you something every day that feeds your spirit. You can have a gratitude jar. That has been very helpful for me, or a journal, so that I don't focus on, I couldn't go anywhere. I got to cook dinner. I don't want to do that. I'm tired of being in the house. Or you want to still be able to focus on. But my family is healthy.
Yes.
With 1 million deaths to COVID, none have hit my direct family. Yes. I have friends who have lost their parents to COVID. There are people on the news we see every day, right? But not in my immediate family, my children, my mother, my first cousins. So find ways to celebrate the good that's going on and make sure that you don't succumb to that. So those would be some things that I would say for me, but that anybody could use. Find moments of silliness. My 4-year-old grandbaby, sometimes we turn on some music that she likes and I just dance goofy and silly and make sure the blinds are closed because I don't want to be recorded and posted, right? Find moments that make you smile, that bring you joy, and just say whatever didn't happen today, that's okay. I'll have tomorrow, hopefully, and then I can pick it up and go again. Otherwise, you can be weighed down by all of the things that don't happen often. And on my Facebook Lives that I do, I always end with, instead of what's not, ask what's next.
Yes, I love it.
But don't focus on all the negative. Of course, you can write them down, say them, do whatever you need to do. And when you finish, find some positive things to end on. Like for me, we both smile at each other. It's just like it comes out. You go, oh my goodness, look, how do I not smile when you smile at me? How do I do that? So your energy can contribute to my energy. So be around people that feed your energy and not deplete your energy.
Yes. Love it. Love it. Excellent tips. Thank you so much. Well, before we go, Marilyn, please give us your contact information, how we can follow you, where we can.
Yes.
Just give us everything we need.
You can have it all. Well, other than my cell phone number. All right. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at MGM College SVCS. You can find me on Facebook at MGM College Services. You can find me on the internet, as people used to say, the World Wide Web. Who says that anymore? At MGM College Services spelled out .com. So MGM College services.com. And that's enough. So you can find me at one of those 3 social media places. I'm also on LinkedIn, but that's more so professional and not for my business. But any of those will work. And from my website, you can send me an email. Let me know that you want to reach out and connect. But I am most active on Twitter. So come on over to Twitterland. I'm waiting for you.
I'm coming over there to find you too.
Come on. You'll see my picture and you'll know it's me.
Well, this was an amazing episode to celebrate this episode. So Marilyn, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule today to share some awesome tips with students and with families. And I thank you, listeners. Until next time.
Well, can I add one more thing? So I want to offer, especially for your listeners, because you are so amazing, Teresa Harris Scholarship Mama, that if anyone who listens to this podcast will reach out to me on one of my social media platforms and let me know that you heard this podcast, you will be entered in a drawing for a free consultation with me about your college and career planning. So you have to mention this. You have to mention this podcast. You have to mention one thing that you heard from this podcast, from what I've shared, and you will be entered into a drawing. And the drawing will be held on, ready? November 1st. So you will hear from me by November 1st. So don't delay. Share some love this way, and you will get something out of the process. You'll be eligible. I didn't say everyone who does it. It will be eligible for that complimentary prize.
All right. Okay, listeners, y'all heard it. Post it when I share this podcast. So
yes. And I wish you much success in what you're doing, Teresa. A lot of us that have been in this space for 20 and 25 years, people may not know our name everywhere, but we are consistent and we do faithfully to the mission and the assignment that we have before us. So I commend you, and I am always willing to support whatever you have going on, because we are working for the same goal, and that's to help students, to help their families, and to have not only brighter college career futures, but also more productive lives. So I wish you peace and blessings and everything you have going on.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, listeners. Until next time.